Monday, March 12. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. The government has activated its contingency plans amid reports of industrial action by the island's public sector teachers. This comes amid the wake of Friday's meeting at which representatives of the Jamaica Teachers Association declared that there will be disruptions in the education system if the government goes ahead and paves the rejected 5% increase in this month's salary. In an audio statement released Sunday afternoon, Education Minister Ruel Reid said the temporary measures are to ensure the safety and the security of students. Reid added that students will be sent home with an advisory from their institution at the end of the day, indicating whether school will reopen the following day. Meanwhile, Finance Minister Audley Shaw has added his voice to the contentious wage negotiation battle involving public sector teachers. The Finance Minister, in a statement to the media, has declared that any deviation from the current wage offer to teachers could translate to more taxes. Addressing the proposed action by teachers, Shaw said the government recognizes and appreciates the sacrifices of all public sector workers. However, that is not possible at this time to improve the current wage offer to public sector workers, as this would have serious repercussions and imperil the economy. Senate on Friday debated a bill which seeks to establish the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency, MOCA, as an agency independent of the police force. The bill seeks to establish MOCA as an independent body to fight organized crime in Jamaica, including detecting and investigating criminal kingpins and persons who facilitate their activities. State Minister of National Security Pernell Charles Jr. piloted the draft legislation in Senate on Friday.
MOCA, Mr. President, aims to target top-level crime figures and their facilitators in a bid to destroy their criminal networks and also to seize their assets and ultimately, Mr. President, to lead to the network being permanently dismantled. The task force focused on the identification, investigation, and prosecution of major organized criminals, kingpins, and their facilitators.
In outlining a number of provisions in the bill, Senator Charles said though MOCA will be autonomous of the police force, there will be surveillance of its operations.
The establishment of an oversight committee for the agency was deemed critical to ensure the agency's and its officers' accountability to the Jamaican people. Critically, Mr. President, the Director General is not exempt from the reach of the Oversight Committee. In so doing, we are demonstrating to the public that the powers accorded to MOCA and its officers are not unfettered, and there will be consequences for the abuse of power, misconduct, and breaches of the rights of Jamaicans. Mr. President, we appreciate that the agency has been given great power, but MOCA officers will certainly not be allowed to act with impunity.
Opposition Senator and former National Security Minister K.D. Knight says he's not convinced the MOCA bill has focused the agency on what should be its mandate.
Unlawful possession of filings or clippings of gold or silver coin. Take those out. They don't belong in here. It's a rubbish business that. You cause me to get upset because you cause me to say that supporting this bill based on what I thought the focus would have been, I'm let down by the first schedule. Then I see J having 3 or more pieces of counterfeit gold or take out that. Then under paragraph 7, come on, setting fire to trash. that you have some organized activity with this, and that's some corruption, big corruption affecting the affairs of the country. Focus the agency.
Debate on the bill was suspended until this week. The MOCA bill was approved in the House of Representatives last month. The government is pushing ahead with a revised national policy for Jamaica's senior citizens that was tabled in the House of Representatives as far back as 1997 by former Prime Minister Mrs. Portia Simpson Miller. In February last year, Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced that his Jamaica Labour Party administration had renewed interest in the policy and that it would be reviewed by his cabinet. Last week, Tuesday, Minister of Labour and Social Security, Shaheen Robinson, tabled the Green Paper for the revised policy in the House of Representatives. The executive summary of the Green Paper states that the policy paper reflects the current government's commitment to pursue social development for all citizens and to put in place a dynamic, enabling environment to achieve that development. According to the Green Paper, the government, through the ministry, will be focusing on creating a responsive program framework that acknowledges and facilitates the enjoyment of citizens' rights by older persons while empowering their continued active and productive aging. Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, is calling for transparency in a case in which a woman died in police lockup at the Halfway Tree police station last week. The woman, 51-year-old Desireen Morris, was found dead in her cell after being arrested for outstanding warrants. JFJ is taking issue with the police suggesting Ms. Morris committed suicide, although a post-mortem hasn't yet been done. Advocacy manager at JFJ, Raj Malcolm, says the human rights lobby, who is providing legal representation to the family, is also concerned the family is being prohibited from identifying Ms. Morris's body. The human rights group says it's made preliminary arrangements for the presence of an independent pathologist in the interest of transparency. In regional news, Cubans went to the polls on Sunday in a one-party vote, the last step before a new president is selected next month as the communist-ruled island prepares to be led for the first time since 1959 revolution by someone whose last name is not Castro. Along with the millions of Cubans, 57-year-old Vice President Miguel Diaz-Canel voted to ratify a government-approved list of members of the National Assembly, which convenes April 19. Diaz-Canel, who is expected to assume Raul Castro's seat as president that day, said the country's next government will be more responsive to its people. Miguel Diaz-Canel told reporters in the central city of Santa Clara that, quote, there has to be a focus on ties to, links with the people, to listen to the people, deeply investigate the problems that exist, and inspire debates about those problems, end quote. Diaz-Canel also lamented the downturn in relations with the United States under President Donald Trump, saying, quote, the re-establishment of relations has been deteriorating thanks to an administration that has offended Cuba, end quote. In a bit of political theater that may prove to be a shift in style from Castro's, Diaz-Canel waited in line to vote alongside other citizens. Most officials are swept to the front of the lines to vote in front of local and international media. In sports, a century from man of the match Rovman Powell over the weekend helped the West Indies to a 52-run win over Ireland to advance to the Super Sixes of the ICC Cricket World Cup qualifying tournament in Zimbabwe. It was the third win from as many matches for the Windies, who will face the Netherlands in their final group match on Monday. And in other news, Sunil Gulati has stepped down as the head of the combined United States, Mexico and Canada bid for the 2026 FIFA World Cup to be replaced by a three co-chairman in a rejigged leadership structure. These will consist of United States Soccer Federation President Carlos Cordero, Mexico Football Federation head Deseo Di Maria, and Canadian Soccer Association boss Stephen Reed. The host nation is set to be decided at a FIFA Congress on June 13 in Moscow on the eve of the opening match of the 2018 World Cup in Russia. Morocco is the only other contender for the 2026 tournament, having announced their candidacy in June. And that's the news. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.